it's Rach, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that you can keep up to date with all my videos. And if you're returning, then thank you so much. I really appreciate your continued support. So in this video, I am going to be reviewing a brand new documentary, an incredibly powerful documentary called Pain Warriors. Pain Warriors is a film that has been brought out, a documentary film, and it looks at the other side of the opioid crisis in America and Canada. Now, even as somebody who doesn't live in those countries, obviously I'm based in the UK, this is an incredibly powerful documentary, and the issues that it covers span global boundaries. It's not issues that are specific just to the US and Canada, it's issues that chronic pain patients everywhere face. This documentary is extremely relatable for anybody who has experience with chronic pain. It is a must-watch for both medical professionals and the general population alike, and it is definitely a watch if you have chronic pain. It will make you feel heard, it will make you feel validated, and it will show you that you're not alone in the issues that you come up against. But I especially think it's a really important one that medical professionals should be watching. The documentary basically seeks to challenge the one-size-fits-all government approach to pain management and using opioid pain medications in particular, and basically to challenge and say, one size doesn't fit all. This doesn't work. This isn't working. These policies that we're applying from the government right the way down to the medical policies that are being applied, it's not working and people are dying as a result. It explores the fact that pain medications are life-giving, and without some of these pain medications, and because of the changes in attitudes and policies towards certain pain medications, people with chronic pain are suffering even more. The film basically looks at the other side of the, opioid crisis that I guess we've all heard about going on in America. It looks at the undertreatment of pain, and that as a result of these policies and these practices and how things are being changed in relation to the opioid crisis, it means that many patients are now being undertreated for their pain. And this film does not shy away from the very harsh reality of that. This film tackles issues that are very powerful, are not comfortable. It's not comfortable watching at times, but it is so powerful and so important, I think, that people watch this. The film tells the story of a number of different patients from all walks of life with completely different experiences. The one consistent thing throughout it is all of them are living with daily pain, and it is having a huge impact on their quality of life. One of my favourite things about this documentary is the medical professionals who they speak to. One of the doctors they speak to is Dr. Ibsen, and he is a doctor who is facing losing his medical practice and his medical licence because he refuses to comply with policies that he believes are harming patients. It's quite heartbreaking because he is exactly the type of doctor we need more of. So I loved following the story of Dr. Ibsen, and the other doctor they speak to is Dr. Jacobs, who, again, the world needs more of this kind of doctor. One of the most powerful scenes in the film for me, in terms of when they're speaking to the medical professionals, because there's lots of powerful scenes with the patients as well, one of the most powerful things that Dr. Jacobs says is he talks about it being a duty of doctors to believe their patients. He actually says that it's unethical to not believe your patient when they're telling you they're in pain or they're struggling or they're suffering, and I found that incredibly powerful. He talks about how it shouldn't be the case that you have to prove your illness, that going to a doctor shouldn't be a court case where you have to prove that you have whatever it is you're saying. You shouldn't have to prove your symptoms, that you should be able to go to a doctor, and as a physician they should believe what you're saying as the patient. And it really struck a chord with me quite deeply, because I have been in numerous situations where doctors haven't believed me and haven't believed my pain, or have fobbed me off, or brushed it off, or said it's in my head. And I know from having run What a Pain for 2 years now that I've spoken to many, many other people who live with chronic illness and who live with chronic pain who've shared a similar experience where they haven't been believed. Their pain hasn't been believed, their symptoms haven't been believed, they've been fobbed off, they've been made to feel like it's all in their head or they're making it up. And that is something that we're getting very wrong. The medical community are getting that wrong. And I love the fact that there are these doctors out there who are saying, actually, no, it's our duty as physicians to believe our patients. The documentary is raw, it is real, it is heartbreakingly honest, it is powerful, and it is absolutely worth a watch, in my opinion. There were numerous points in the film where I cried. You will understand when you watch this, and I'm not going to explain loads about the individual stories within it because I don't want to spoil it for people. I want you guys to go and watch it. I want you to go and see it for yourselves and experience it for yourselves because it is incredibly powerful. But there was more than one occasion where I broke down in tears because it is just so real and so hard hitting, and as someone who lives with chronic pain, it was really hard to hear some of the stories of people not that dissimilar to me who aren't here anymore because of their chronic pain. The documentary doesn't shy away from the fact that chronic pain has a huge impact on mental health, but it also actually talks about the fact that physical pain leads people to suicide, and people die by suicide because they just can't take being in that physical pain anymore, because pain can be unrelenting. If you live with chronic pain, you'll know this yourself. Living with chronic pain is hard, and when it's really bad, or there's flares, or it's one thing after another, it is unrelenting. It wears you down, it breaks you, it takes everything from you, and it's exhausting. Some of the people that you're gonna hear about in Pain Warriors are people who have died by suicide because they just couldn't take the physical pain anymore. So Pain Warriors looks at the story, like I say, of a number of individuals. One of those people is Sherry, and Sherry lives with multiple chronic illnesses and lives in a great deal of pain on a daily basis, and has fought for many years to be heard and to be believed and to get her pain treated and to find ways to manage it. It follows her heartbreaking story as told from the point of view of the patient advocate who she hired in the end to advocate for her. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't want to kind of give everything away, but Sherry's story is extremely powerful. It moved me to tears multiple times. The film also follows Hunter. He's just a kid. He had cancer, and as a result of the treatments from cancer, lives with chronic pain. It follows the story of him, his younger sister Willow, and his mum Satara. I love the fact that they've included the story of a child in it. I think it's very important in terms of a documentary that's kind of covering chronic pain as a whole. I think it's really important that they've included a child's story. You know, there are times when the story of Hunter has you smiling because you can see him playing with his sister Willow, and it's beautiful. Their bond is incredible. They talk a lot about kind of the bond from the cancer and other things, and it's incredibly powerful. But there are times when you see this very young child having to deal with the kind of pain that adults struggle to deal with. And yeah, it's really raw and really heartbreaking, but it's so powerful, and it's so important that the story of a child is included. Like for me, that really added something that I think hasn't necessarily been covered that much in terms of other documentaries that I've seen about pain. The documentary also covers the story of Yannicka. She has a young child, and it looks at when she fell pregnant, how pain kind of impacted on that, and how it impacts on her being a mum. There's not loads about Yannicka and her story, which for me personally, I would have liked to have seen more, but that's because I'm a mum and I obviously have a young child and I live with pain. So I directly related to her story, and I was interested to kind of learn more about kind of her background and her story and how she managed things. But it was great that she was included in there again, just to add another perspective and a kind of a different story and a different life experience. The documentary also looks at the story of Bob and Karen. It's told from Bob's point of view. So Karen is the chronic pain patient and Bob is her husband. It's an incredibly powerful story. It's incredibly sad. You need to watch it. You will definitely cry. Have tissues on hand. But I'm so glad they include it again, because as much as it's difficult to watch, it's so important that we realise that this is the reality for chronic pain patients, and that people are living in these horrific circumstances and suffering, and they're not being heard. And that is the whole point of Pain Warriors for me. It gives pain patients a voice, and a very real, very raw, very honest, very powerful voice. And I would absolutely recommend that every single person I know who is, just everyone should watch this documentary, because if you live with chronic pain, you need to see it. But if you don't live with chronic pain, you need to see it in order to understand what people who live with pain go through on a daily basis, and how very real and lasting the impact can be on somebody's life. What's interesting about this film is that it highlights that chronic pain can happen to everybody. Because two of the people whose stories they look at, their chronic pain comes about as a result of a car accident. And I think it's really, really good that they've included this because it just shows that chronic pain is something that can happen to anyone, because any one of us could step out the door and have an accident, and as a result of that and what follows that and injuries and all the rest of it, find ourselves then living with lifelong pain. It's not something that discriminates, and I think that's the point they're making. Chronic pain doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, what your gender is, what your race is, what your sexuality is, what your religion is. None of that matters. It doesn't discriminate. Anybody can find themselves in a situation where they're then living with chronic pain. Chronic illness doesn't discriminate, but it's so easy to think it won't happen to me. So the film does cover suicide. It does obviously look at the realities of patients who die by suicide. It obviously looks at the kind of aftermath of that for those who are left behind. That obviously is quite difficult watching. So I would always recommend when you're going to watch something like this, and it is very powerful, that you just kind of keep a check on where you're at mentally, obviously, and plan in some time afterwards to just kind of take care of yourself and make sure you're all right. It talks about some of the alternative therapies, not in such a way, because I think so often when you live with chronic pain, people are like, oh, just do yoga, it'll fix everything. It's like, no, it won't. It does look at the reality of mindfulness, which I found interesting because it looks at it in such a way that it looks at when you're conscious in the moment of your pain, that it actually can be interesting to really look at the reality of how much pain you're living in and almost take a step back and go, whoa, like I live with that every day and look at me, I'm here, I'm surviving. But obviously it looks at the alternate side of at what point do you get to when you can no longer cope with that, and what can we do, what can we put in place to stop pain patients dying by suicide? How can we better help people and better support them? What treatments can we give them? And certainly the answer is not just taking away all opiates, because for many people those medications are life-giving, quite literally. And if you take that away and don't replace it with something else, then we're failing people and people are going to die. I would highly recommend watching Pain Warriors. It's an hour and 20 minutes long, so it's quite a nice length. It's enough length to kind of encompass everything and really go in depth in some of these issues. So Pain Warriors was produced by Tina Petrova, who is an advocate in the area of pain. She advocates for chronic pain patients, so it's even more powerful for that reason. It's written by somebody who gets it and by someone who really cares about this issue and wants to advocate for pain patients. So yeah, definitely worth a watch. I will pop some links down below with more information about the film. I will pop a link for the trailer down below as well. It is fantastic. Gives you a real kind of glimpse at what's to come. If you do watch it, be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. I would love to hear your feedback, and make sure that you share it with people. I'm really glad that I was able to watch this and review this for my channel. I really appreciate being given that opportunity, so thank you for that, Tina. I will be doing lots more videos around the topic of chronic illness. I also cover all things kind of parenting with chronic illness and just life in general. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!